Clark is officially stepping onto the NBA stage, at least for a couple of nights. And this move is far bigger than it looks at first glance, because NBC has confirmed that the Indiana Fever star will be part of its Sunday night basketball pregame coverage, marking a major crossover moment that sends a clear signal about where basketball culture is headed. Just when people assumed she would quietly disappear during the WNBA offseason, NBC made a bold announcement that instantly shook the sports world. Clark is joining the launch of NBC's brand new basketball night in America, putting her front and center on one of the biggest platforms in American sports. And this is not speculation or rumor. This is a confirmed, carefully planned decision that reveals a lot about her status in the sports hierarchy, because NBC is not easing her into the role or testing the waters. They are handing her the spotlight immediately. She is scheduled to make her debut on February 1st ahead of Lakers versus Knicks at Madison Square Garden, which is arguably the most iconic regular season stage the NBA has to offer. The combination of New York, LeBron James, and national television already guarantees massive attention, and adding Clark to that mix turns it into a marketing masterstroke. And what makes this even more interesting is who she will be sitting next to, because she is joining a studio panel made up of basketball royalty, Carmelo Anthony, Vince Carter, and Tracy McGrady, 3 Hall of Fame level scorers, 3 legends with completely different styles, and now Clark will be right there with them, breaking down plays, talking strategy, and offering her perspective to millions of viewers. And this isn't happening by accident. NBC is relaunching NBA coverage after decades away. They have the nostalgia, the iconic theme music, and the historical credibility. But they needed something modern, something that connects the past to the present and pulls in a younger audience. And instead of leaning on the same familiar superstars, they chose a 22-year-old who has already transformed the way people engage with women's basketball. That choice alone tells you how powerful her brand has become, because NBC is trusting her star power to help launch their most expensive and most important sports property. And there's a reason for that. Clark has already proven she can move audiences. During her college career, NBC platforms benefited directly from her games, drawing subscriptions and attention at levels rarely seen for women's basketball. And now the network is betting that her fan base will follow her into NBA coverage, creating instant relevance and buzz for Sunday nights. But the strategy goes even deeper when you look at the timing, because she's not just appearing once. She's scheduled to return again in late March for Knicks versus Thunder, which keeps her visible during a crucial stretch of the basketball calendar. February leads into the All-Star break, and March leads directly into the build-up for the WNBA season, meaning her presence helps bridge the gap between leagues while keeping her name and the Indiana Fever in constant rotation. And there's also an unspoken layer to this move, the uncertainty surrounding the WNBA labor situation. If the season were to face delays, this role gives Clark continued visibility on the biggest basketball stage available, protecting her momentum and keeping her voice front and center. And from NBC's perspective, it gives them flexibility to lean into her presence even more if the situation evolves. And when you imagine the on-air dynamic, it's easy to see why this could become must-watch television. You have Vince Carter talking about finishing at the rim, Tracy McGrady discussing shot creation, Carmelo Anthony breaking down footwork and isolation scoring, and Clark adding her perspective as one of the greatest shooters the game has ever seen. The conversations about spacing, range, and offensive creativity practically write themselves. And beyond the analysis, there's the cultural impact of seeing NBA legends treat a WNBA star as an equal in basketball intellect. That alone shifts perception and elevates the women's game in the eyes of casual viewers. And NBC has already teased that Clark may have a basketball in her hands during the broadcast, which has fueled massive speculation online, whether that means demonstrations, breakdowns, or something even bigger, like the long-rumored debut of her signature shoe. The setting couldn't be more perfect. National television, Madison Square Garden, millions watching, and Nike staying unusually quiet leading up to it. Companies don't hide launches like that unless they're planning something enormous. And while critics may argue she's too young or inexperienced for this role, her Media Resume says otherwise. She has already thrived in alternative broadcast formats, held her own in high-profile booths, and consistently shown comfort, humor, and sharp basketball insight on camera. Her understanding of the modern game aligns perfectly with today's NBA style built on pace, space, and deep shooting, which makes her analysis not just relevant but refreshing. And this move also strengthens the connection between the NBA and the WNBA, two leagues that have often felt separate despite being intertwined. Having the face of the WNBA analyzing NBA games sends a subtle but powerful message that basketball is basketball, and if fans respect her mind, they should respect her game. That kind of cross-pollination benefits both leagues, especially with WNBA viewership already climbing rapidly. Exposure on Sunday nights has the potential to push it even further when the season tips off. And for CaitlincLark personally, this is a masterclass in career management. She's already aligned with brands connected to NBC's parent company, making this collaboration feel inevitable. But the speed and scale of the execution is what stands out. She's building a post-playing media presence at just 22 years old, something most athletes don't attempt until retirement, all while remaining in her athletic prime and arguably at the peak of her fame. That level of foresight and business awareness is rare, and when February 1st arrives, expectations will be high. NBC isn't bringing her in to fade into the background. She'll be positioned prominently, offering opinions on the Lakers, breaking down stars and adding a modern voice to a format that sometimes struggles to stay fresh. And that's where her youth becomes an asset. She speaks the language of the next generation. She connects naturally with digital audiences, and her presence instantly makes the broadcast feel more current, more relevant, and more shareable, which is exactly what NBC wants as it tries to win over younger fans. And when you step back and look at the big picture, this move checks every box. It's a win for NBC, a boost for the NBA's presentation, and a massive expansion of reach for CaitlincLark and the WNBA. February 1st won't just be another regular season game. It will be a statement about where basketball media is headed. And if this appearance delivers the way many expect, it may only be the beginning of CaitlincLark's long-term role as one of the most influential voices in the sport, both on and off the court.